Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Tebelo Motswane. I'm an attorney by profession and the founder of a platform called Sister in Law, which is a platform dedicated to empowering women through legal education. Now, I hope you all have been keeping safe and staying at home and finding ways to, literally survive through this crisis that is the COVID-19 pandemic. I hope you've also been able to use this time to be a little bit productive. I know personally for me it's been very, very difficult, but I found that once the trial period was over, i.e., the first 21 days of the lockdown, then I managed to just spring back into action and keep it moving. And so that is why I am back on your screens today, and I want to discuss the topic of wills. I know I've revisited this topic so many times on this platform. If you follow me, then you know that like a lot of the time I speak about wills. And I also want to follow up on this topic because in recent times I've had to discuss this with my parents, just to remind them to review their wills, which is very, very important. I always tell them that it's important to review your will at least once a year, or if there are any, big changes in your life that are notable. For example, if they have new grandkids that they'd like to add onto their wills, or if they are no longer talking to certain siblings who are going to inherit and now they want their sisters and their brothers to inherit, then it's a very good idea for you to review and update your will. Same goes for you. If your ex had stood a chance to inherit in your current existing will and now they no longer stand a chance to inherit, then it's a good idea for you to actually review your will and update it. I would honestly hate for anyone's ex to inherit a portion of your estate when that wasn't your intention during your last days of being alive. It's important to have a will in place so that you are able to literally dictate who should get what of your estate in the event that you pass away. If you die without a will, you are said to die intestate, and the person that will inherit automatically will be your surviving spouse or your parents in the event that you are not married. If you specifically want your siblings to inherit, then you'd need to have a will in place for that. Like I said, if you die intestate and you're single and you don't have any children, then your parents are likely, or your parents are the people who would inherit from your intestate estate. If you are married in community of property, then what happens when you pass away without a will is that your 50% of the estate will divulge, what's the word I'm looking for? Your 50% of the estate will be distributed to your surviving spouse and to your children. But if you are married out of community of property, then your whole estate will either go to your surviving spouse or will go to your surviving spouse and your children. If you don't have any children, then it only goes to your surviving spouse. If there is no surviving spouse, then your children will automatically inherit. The nice thing about a will is that you get to determine who will inherit. So if you have maybe no surviving spouse, for example, you do have children, but you also have a sibling who you are putting through school and you'd like for them to inherit, then in your will you can state that they should inherit a certain percentage of your estate in the event that you pass away. Now, it's very important to understand that in terms of the Electronic Communications and Transactions Act, electronic signatures are not valid for executing a will. This means that you have to sign your will yourself and in the presence of two witnesses. Remember that the people who you live with, or rather the people who are in your will, cannot sign as witnesses. So during lockdown, the only challenge would be that you need to get two competent witnesses or two competent neighbors rather to act as witnesses for your will. You definitely won't be able to either have someone you live with who is mentioned in your will. Unless they're not mentioned, then they can be a witness. And also a reminder that your executor also cannot sign as a witness. So that's a very important thing to remember. During lockdown, if you update a will or if you are executing a new will, remember that the people who are beneficiaries in your will cannot sign as witnesses. Very, very important. But in general as well, it's advisable to speak to an attorney before drafting your will or before updating it, just to ensure that your will does comply with the formalities of the Wills Act. if it is not compliant with the formalities of the Wills Act, then your will be invalid, and your estate will then be distributed intestate, meaning that the people who were originally in your will not be able to inherit due to that invalidity of your will. I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode, and yeah, I'd really just like to hear from you in general. If there's any topics that you'd like me to discuss on my YouTube channel, then please do send me an email on advice@sisterinlaw.co.za. That's advice@sisterinlaw.co.za. I've also got really great content articles on my website. I do have an article that stresses the importance of having a will. You can visit the blog on www.sisterinlaw.co.za. Remember that sister-in-law is one word. And you can also follow me on Instagram at sister_in_law_. The same on Twitter, and there I share loads of content that has to do with everything. The most exciting thing I've done recently was share an article, or rather content, relating to retrenchments after the lockdown, which I believe a lot of employees will be affected by post-lockdown, if some are already not being affected by that. So yeah, like I said, if there's any other content that you'd like me to discuss, any legal insights that you just need clarity on, then please do pop me an email. Your feedback is very important to me. And if you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so now. Until next time, keep well and stay safe.